Hey, it's Todd Ault, and welcome back to Risk On. This show may be the greatest show ever about risk. That is a forward-looking statement. I'm in New York. Actually, I'm in Connecticut. I'm in Connecticut at a famous hedge fund home, but we won't talk about that. Jason Bartholomew is back in Vegas in our studio there. Jason, looks like you got a new studio.
Yeah, man, it's looking awesome here. We got a nice screen behind me here. Got a nice picture of you coming in from the East Coast. Ready to roll.
Hey, it's February 16th. This is the 11th episode of Risk On. And what a day today again in the market. I will tell you, Jason, I don't know what you were trading, but let's go through the markets real quick on how they closed, and then I'll cover with you what I did today. I know we were apart today, so we are broadcasting from New York and Connecticut, and in on the Pacific Coast with Jason. So give us a little bit of a break if we have a little problem, because we're doing this on Zoom.
Let's get into it. So we've got the Dow Jones Industrial today closed up 62 points, 31,520. That is another all-time high, if I'm not mistaken. The NASDAQ was 14,047, down 47, and the S&P was 3932, down 2 points. Bitcoin did hit 50,000 like we thought it would. We talked about it last week. And it did retrace back to 48.7, Ethereum 1750, and oil back up, $60 barrels. And let's look at gold, down 28 an ounce to 17.95. Silver was dead even, $27.32. And that's all our indicators.
Yeah, I saw the Dow was pretty strong most of the day. Let me give you some heads up on a few things. Let's start with OCGN. I sold my entire position at 1150. I just didn't feel like it was getting the oomph that I thought it would get with Covax, so I'm flat OCGN. Obviously, I put out a press release this morning about our ownership of Silver Sun Technologies. For full disclosure, Ault Global, that I am the executive chairman of, does have a 9.9% position in SST, and we talked about that and that disclosure on Friday. Some other things that were notable that I sold. I did get out of Sundial. I know that probably disappoints you a little bit, Jason, but I just was feeling like I was getting a little too many names out there. Decided to kind of cut it back a little bit.
I was out of OCGN also. I traded 1,500 shares from 1080 to 1149. I left a little bit of meat on the bones, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with OCGN. We're just going to watch from a distance and see what happens.
Right. It was, I did buy a little Palantir today on the pullback on those earnings, and I am a little along a little ride. I put that on today also. So an interesting day. I think, I don't know, Jason, if you want to go through some names that you thought were interesting that were happening today for you.
Yeah, there was a couple of really parabolic movers today. Let's look. Well, first, I want to look at just the staples of the Bitcoin craze here. If you could, Brett, if you could pull up, I've got RIOT here. 59.50 today, 20% move, down slightly in the after hours. I mean, now it's up to, I think it's up to 4 billion market cap. Just amazing.
It's got. I have it up 9.9%, and the market cap is over 4 billion today.
Yeah.
So obviously, with Bitcoin being at 50, around 50,000, although it's pulled back, it's been a monster move for Riot.
Yeah, Mara also moved pretty well. It moved to 45, which is another strong move. And then all the other correlating Bitcoin plays followed suit. Nothing out of the ordinary. As the correlation rises between Bitcoin and the miners, the share prices are indicative of that. So that's been very steady. One of these tickers, SCKT, just a risk on. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Socket Mobile. It's they had news today. I had a chance to buy that
when it was up only $7 and it was around $10, and I looked at it pre-market, but it all looked like to me was that they added something to the App Store. It didn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. It was just it was a scanner for the iPhone 12, like a QR code scanner, and it ripped up 900%, like at the high of the day. It ended up closing up 538%, over $20. So I don't know. That one was crazy.
Some things don't make any sense to me.
No, that one didn't make any sense. But this one did kind of make sense. Let's look at PXS. Okay, that's let me pull that up here real quick. That's Pyxis Tankers. Yeah, this was a parabolic short squeeze. Very low float. It actually touched $4.60, and you can see now after hours it's really back down to $2.62 after hours. Huge volume. It moved on the back of some of the other shipping names. Also, SHIP, they got a new vessel that had news that actually moved up pretty well. So the Greek shippers are still had a continuation from Friday.
These shipper stocks are crazy.
Yeah, these are stocks that I do never, ever hold overnight because they can slap an offering on you so quick. I want to talk about one other shipper. This one is kind of a combination. Let's pull this one up, Todd. Sino. It's kind of short for casino, maybe. Sino Global Shipping America. Okay, they are a non-asset shipper. They work on software, logistical stuff for shipping. They actually had news today. They actually obtained a company from Mongolia, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look.
You find the most archaic stuff, man. This is a non-ship shipper that said they were going to be in Bitcoin that hit 950 today.
Yeah. They have a letter of intent to buy Mongolia, 51% of Mongolia 9-chain intelligent blockchain, which is AI, cloud computing, Bitcoin mining. So that was for $8.5 million for 51%. Let me see if I can find I want to pull that up just so we can see it. Maybe Yahoo actually has it here. I want to show you this. This is like, where did they find this company? They said they were going to get into crypto mining, and now they found this company. Yeah, here it is right here. Brad, I'm going to pull this up. This is from the Newswire. Sino Global announces LOI to acquire 51% of Computer Power Center Company. And as you can see, Sino Global, a non-asset-based global shipping and freight logistical integrated solutions provider, announced that they did acquire this Mongolia 9-chain intelligent big data park service company. Wow, that's a lot to say. So
yeah, you find some of the biggest, crazy stuff I've ever seen. So I don't see it. I know that Naked Brands pulled back to $1.30. I know that's something we've spoken about in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered, kind of out loud for you, what do you see kind of risk on right now that's moving that is not insane like these shipper stocks?
Well, yeah.
Clover's back to 1142. A lot of these things have pulled back.
Yeah. What about so? Here's one that I want to go long on. POWW had earnings today. Okay, they actually
the bullet stock we've talked about before.
Yeah, they were looking for 2020 earnings per share of 3 cents expected, minus 3 cents. Actual was minus 4 cents. Just a slight miss. They did beat revenue, 16.62 million versus the street expectation of 12 million. Traded in a range of 850 to 995 today. They're having earnings call like right now, so I'm unable to listen in on that. But I expect them to probably raise capital soon. That's just my opinion, but they are acquiring gunbroker.com, the online e-commerce.
They made a monster move, but I think they said they were going to raise capital to be able to finance gunbroker.com. But they've made a monster move. The company has around a $600 million market cap, and that's off of when they uplisted, I think, about $3.
Yeah, so I'm looking for an entry on that. And you guys, if you want to do a little homework on that and take a look at it, just keep an eye on that. I'm looking for entry on that to go long.
Hey, comment below if you'd buy any bullet stocks. These guys make ammunition. And I wondered out loud for myself, there's a certain amount of people that are kind of anti-guns and a certain amount of people that are. I'd love to hear from you guys what you think about POWW. This is a stock we've been looking at for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to talk about another risk-on trade, I actually made a trade to. Actually, I went long today on a stock, WWR. I don't know, Brett, if you can see that one. Westwater Resources, graphite mainly is their rare earth mineral. They actually missed earnings pretty big today. Full disclosure, I went long 2,000 shares at $8.25. I got a little impatient. After hours, it's 8:10. Closed at 8:06. So that's something that, graphite obviously is a big component for, electric vehicle electric vehicles and the ancillary products. So they are, along with AREC, those are the two I'm looking at for rare earth minerals. They have $100 million cash that they've raised. They have enough funding for the rest of the year I listened to their call today. I'm pretty bullish on this company, and I'm just going to keep those 2,000 shares and just go long on that one.
Here's my concern, and I want to talk about, change the subject a little bit, and that is, you've had a pretty monster run in the small cap world. I mean, small caps have really, really had a big run. And some of the names you're talking about are up off of $3 lows, $2 lows, $1 lows. And I think the number of stocks on the NASDAQ below $1, I mean, where's that at, Jason?
There were two the last time I checked. They were gold tickers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm pretty concerned. Market's had a bit of a run. I'm not saying there's not going to be some individual names, but this mobile thing today, was it called Socket Mobile?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Why do you go from 3 to 19 because you have an app in the App Store? I don't know. A scanner. It makes I'm a little concerned about that in terms of what the market's doing. Bitcoin obviously hit 50,000.
Yeah.
I thought, so I would say to you things, if you look at it from a risk-on philosophy, some of these things have had moves. I think you got to start paying attention to whether you're catching the move or whether you've already caught the move and these are pullbacks. And that OCGN is a real reason why I took risk off on that trade, and that's because I really felt like that move was kind of settling in. I'm not saying we're not going to wake up and everyone's right and this is $30, but risk reward wise, it seems like some of these are sputtering out and the market's rotating. Jason, where do you think they're rotating to right now?
Well, they haven't primed up back to marijuana yet, which I thought they would eventually. But right now, I mean, some of the biotechs are still pretty hot. A couple of the PPE producers like APT and NBY, they make masks and garments. Those are a couple to keep an eye on. As far as the Greek shipping stocks, that's just a fad. I wouldn't put too much weight into those. Those are just day trades. I mean, we can always look at the energy sector, which is still hot, both alternative and traditional. So, I mean,
I noticed some of the IPOs are holding up. Bumble hit 70, 79 or some change today. Closed at 78 and some change. So Bumble recent IPO for the dating app. Whitney's company is doing pretty well. But I'm noticing a lot of small names that are really making these kind of parabolic moves off the bottom, and it makes, I'm a little concerned about it. I'm just saying, careful what you chase. It's a concern. How do you feel about it? I mean, are you concerned about these names off the bottom or no?
I'm a little bit. I mean, this market seems pretty heavy. At any given time, you're right. I think the sell button can be pressed on a lot of these tickers. But I think you could capitalize on the energy sector still, especially with this polar vortex occurring. 20 people have died because of this. 150.
I think 27 people in the South have died, I think in Texas. And
yeah,
of course, Texas is covered in, I think 40% of people in the Texas area are out of power, and it's sort of unprecedented a situation. I did hear that Houston got 9 inches of snow back in 1865, so this was a record year.
Yeah, I'm
in terms
seeing
of current
crazy temperatures. -14 in Oklahoma City, -20 in Fayetteville, Arkansas. That's crazy. 4.3 million people without power.
What do you make of Bitcoin going to 50 and kind of pulling back here at 48 some change? It seems healthy, but almost like we were marching directly to 50,000, like everyone kind of saw that coming. What do you think's next for them in terms of consolidation, or what do you think happens with Bitcoin?
We could consolidate for a little bit of time here. I noticed that Ethereum debuted on the CME too, at 55 million in open future interest. That was something
I saw that.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. But Bitcoin, it's all going to come down to what other players, what other corporations, banks, insurance companies, who's going to take part in this next. So we'll see. That could be another catalyst. Who on the way to 100,000. I mean, now you think most of the people now, the big psychological number next will be 100,000, and will we be able to get there?
Sure. I'm looking for undervalued growth, undervalued assets in terms of, that's why I bought that SSNT, which, obviously have made a monster move today. I filed another 13D for MOSY. I would not suggest buying that stock. I think it's overpriced. But I'm trying to find things that I think have value that kind of make sense. I think it'll be healthy to see Bitcoin pull back here a little bit. It's been on a massive tear.
Sure.
I mean, absolutely massive tear. I heard today that Buffett, I don't know if you have a chance to comment on this, and I apologize if you didn't, Jason, but I heard that Buffett had paired some of his holdings in Apple. Did you read about that at all? Do you know anything about that?
I didn't see that one, but I could definitely look into that for tomorrow's show.
Yeah, I heard that Buffett. Now I don't, obviously you don't know if this is Ted and Todd at Berkshire Hathaway that are cutting their holdings. It's really probably not Buffett that's doing it.
Right.
Todd, Ted, the two guys that run money for him internally, obviously have control of a lot of assets there.
I think Go ahead.
It's always been a pretty big position that he held in Apple. So maybe part of it was him, because I recall that. But I'm hearing that that Buffett had cut back his position. That Berkshire Hathaway had cut back their position.
I know he went. So, he increased the stake in Verizon and Chevron. It looks like he holds 147 million shares of Verizon at 8.6 billion, and also with Chevron, he's got 48.4 million shares of Chevron, and he's got 23 million shares of EW Scripps, according to the most recent filings. So it looks like he did exit some position in JP Morgan and PNC, and he cut his Wells Fargo position about 58%. So he's moving away from some of these banks.
It looked like to me he cut about 60 million shares back of Apple. I mean, that's had a big tear, right?
I see it.
So it had a big tear. He exited his gold position completely. He exited Pfizer. He exited JP Morgan. He boosted his stake in Kroger and AbbVie and Bristol Myers.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see that he continues to cut back Wells Fargo. I mean, he's only got 52 million shares left for Wells Fargo, down from 127 million.
Yeah.
So Buffett's been cutting a little Apple. Now, let's not mislead everybody. His Apple position is still 800 and I got to make sure I check here. His Apple position is still 887 million shares, which still makes him, I think, the biggest shareholder of Apple, and that's still billions of dollars. But he did obviously cut some back. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, which is that, trees don't grow the sky, and I find myself being kind of sick with the idea that people bought into this mentality that you're going to hold the line when a stock goes to $500 that was trading for 14. Yeah. You're going to teach people a lesson with your capital, yet you've gotten taught a lesson now. Because for those of you who didn't sell your GameStop when it was 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, where did you think it was going to go? How did you think this was going to end? And I'm feeling bad for those people, because this sort of hold the line mentality where you're going to hold the line, and you not selling is going to prevent the stock from going down, was misleading. And whoever came up with that concept, well, it may have worked for you for a while. I've said this is not my quote. This is sort of a Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett quote, which is short-term stocks are voting machines, but long-term they're weighing machines. And the weight of your valuation will catch up with you. And this is a risk-on mentality that eventually, listen, having a feeling does not work for you. Right? But looking at the facts, this thing rolled over. Jason, what are you thinking about GameStop now? What's happening there? What about those people holding the line in GameStop?
Yeah, they're all huge bag holders. They couldn't take profit and reallocate their bankroll to other growth stocks or other, even blue chips. They could have taken a large sum of profits, most of those traders, and moved into a less risk-off trades, maybe reallocate their bankroll to more stable, blue chips, or, allocate some of it to a little bit more risk on. But now they're like fighting with AMC. They were coordinating today with AMC to buy 2 million Reddit users were going to buy at the bell. I don't know how that worked out. I don't think. Where did AMC end up today? Let's take a look.
Yeah, these are just this has become foolish, and I'm sure I'll become the target of someone making comments. But AMC's back to 565.
Yeah, that didn't work.
I mean, it went to 20, and now it's back to. And you can't tell me that's because Robinhood stopped trading. Is that the whole reason why it went back down? It's just, I just think that eventually you can't trade like that. It's kind of reckless. We're all gonna hold it together and watch someone else sell it. That's what it felt like to me.
I mean, I could
be wrong here. I'm feeling bad for some Reddit people that own that stock. I'm reading stories about people that had it at 300 and didn't sell any. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm really, really sad for them.
That's like the trade of a lifetime for some folks. I mean, that was massive. And now you're seeing, that's like now it's like a hopium strategy, which isn't a strategy. They're just hoping that it will go back up. And I've noticed though that some of the other Reddit posters, they've moved over to some tangible assets. Like there's quite a bunch of them now that are talking about silver and silver miners. At least that's a hard asset. I mean, at least they have something tangible. So that's more of a safety net, especially considering all the way the Fed's printing money and the inflation that's about to happen, in my opinion. So
this just brings up my point about risk on. Risk on is not always just put your foot on the pedal and never let off the gas. Sometimes you have to let off the gas a little bit. You got to let your car breathe. You can't overheat everything. And I think some things are just getting overheated. But I am buying a little bit of this RELI. I like that. I'm taking a look at that insurance company that just did a restructuring. I hope that I'm correct there. I'm nibbling. I got about 25,000 shares right in line around here. What are you long right now, Jason? I think it's a good time on a Tuesday, right after the holiday, to catch up with. What do you have long in your portfolio right now?
Right now, I have WWR, 2,000 shares, 825. I've got a new position. Another new position in AUMN, about 94.75, 94 cents.
But for full disclosure, you trade that name all the time.
Yeah,
right?
but yeah, for sure. That's a swing trade for me. This swing trade for the metals could be a week, could be a month. So there's plenty of another ticker for silver and gold mining that I have a piece of is GPL. I've got that at 98 cents. That's another junior miner that I'm very bullish about. And then AG, First Majestic Silver. I've had a long position in that for 2 years.
Wow.
They're actually paying.
I bought some Palantir. They had earnings. The funny part is I think Jeffries talked about the earnings being great and on track, but I think other people were a little disappointed. That stock's had a monster run, and I've really bought it right in line here. I'll tell you my average with Palantir, guys, everybody. I'm about $28.60, so I'm a little underwater in Palantir, but I just added some at $7.84 in the aftermarket. Mm-hmm. I'm long a little RIDE, that's pulled back.
Oh, yeah.
I'm long RELI, which I've talked about. Everyone knows this morning I filed the 13D on MOSY. I would not suggest buying that stock. I filed the 13D. I have a very large position in there, and I really can't disclose what I'm doing with that company. But, of course, it has been disclosed to the public, so I can at least bring that to your guys' attention. For the most part, though, it was a pretty somber day. I mean, kind of a flatline day for me. Some of the big position stocks I have, like SSNT, they had big moves. I don't know about you, Jason. Was there anything in particular that you thought you really had to own today that stood out that you thought was kind of risk on?
Actually, exploration company, Pebble Mine. I'm still waiting to hear back on the appeal from that. I'm just watching that steadily.
Right.
If they get news where the EPA will entertain their appeal, that could get some momentum and not actually approve the mine, but at least entertain the appeal of the record of decision that was turned down. So I'm waiting to see what that does. That's been hovering in the 90s, around $1. So. Other than that, it's hard to find. Are you finding it's hard to find value right now? I'm having a hard time finding it.
It's hard to find value a little bit. I did a little trade in this Lightbridge Corporation. I saw an interview, partial interview with Bill Gates talking about decarbonization, cement companies that they're pumping CO2 in cement.
Right.
It's interesting to see Bill Gates shift his focus to the environment and how he's going to clean things up. I think there's some stocks in that category that I'll be looking at for the next few days to see what will benefit from that spot. That'll be an interesting scenario. I'm filming, obviously, from Connecticut. You're in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I could show you one that we missed. You guys want to see one that I totally whiffed on today?
What do we miss? What's the symbol? What we admit? Hey, listen, we admit our mistakes here. What'd you miss?
I totally whiffed on TRCH, Torchlight Energy Resources. Yeah, I've missed on this one. I was late to the party. Looking at the 5-day, it's up 168% in the past 5 days.
But these guys are really up in sympathy with the fact that there's been freezing in Texas, correct?
Yeah. So that's one that we missed. Disappointing.
Right, for sure. I got that.
But yeah, other than that, the day was pretty polarized. There weren't that many runners, so it was really pretty easy to look at look at the different sectors, and like the Greek shippers were runners. Bitcoin was running, and that was really it about. Sava had a nice run today with the upgrades.
I saw that with the upgrades.
Yeah.
I saw SAP was trading up 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So I think there's still going to be great spots in healthcare, especially biotech. I still think there's some small technology companies that are going to make moves. Yep. But I kind of saw the 50,000 in Bitcoin today. It's just a little bit of maybe time to take a little bit of a breather. I don't know how you felt about it, but it felt like it was a breather today.
Yeah, I did notice that Ethereum didn't really. I was looking for Ethereum to go to 2,000, and it didn't. So I was a little disappointed with that, but that's okay. I mean, look where we're at. This is crazy. 50,000 Bitcoin, and it's $1,700-$1,800 Ethereum. Some of these altcoins are moving. I don't know what your philosophy is on these altcoins. They're just strictly trades for me, like quick trades.
Yeah, for me, I'd rather be long Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. Ethereum a little bit maybe. I own some Bitcoin, but I don't own any Ethereum. Yeah. I'd rather be long that. I'm looking for biotechs that are continuing to be cheap relative to whether they can make a move or not in terms of how much move they've made. But you got Overstock at 105 effectively.
Yeah.
Apple at 133. A lot of these stocks, we talked about a couple weeks ago about SRAX, SRAC, or SRAX. That's made a monster move. That's at 625 now. You've got a lot of these stocks that have made a move. There's just no question about that. Maybe they're a tiny bit tired. I don't know. I, for full disclosure, also am long Boeing, BA. It's more of an expensive stock, but it's still down about half of where it was pre-COVID and pre the 2 crashes that happened with the Supermax.
Yeah.
And I see that we're going to open up. The economy's going to open up. You got to figure out where you're going to play that for things that are going to reopen. Maybe I made a mistake in selling FSST because eventually Tillman Fertitta's business is going to pick back up. But you're going to hear about Johnson & Johnson later in the month. And when Johnson & Johnson gets their COVID vaccine approved for emergency use, I think you're going to start to see things opening up. And as they open up, there's going to be entertainment stocks to play with. Some of those have made moves. IMAX, I think, is back to where its pre-COVID highs were. Can you pull up the chart on IMAX?
Yeah. And Disney, too. All right, let's look at IMAX here. IMAX, wow, okay. Big move today and after hours, over 12%. Let's look at the 1 year.
And these are stocks that have
Yeah.
circled back on their pre-COVID lows. I mean, this thing was down at $6.
Wow,
So
look at that.
a lot of these stocks, what I would be warning people of is some of these stocks have already built in a new move.
Yeah.
A lot of these things have made moves. And so the question, Jason, is going to be, IMAX is up from a low of 601. It hit 21, so it's a 52-week high.
Mm-hmm.
It's 21 in the aftermarket. Is the turn back on of the economy and people coming back to see the movie theaters, is that gonna rip things even higher from here, or do we already make that move? Is the market already anticipating this 5% economic, 5.8% economic growth that people are talking about? And so I would start to be selective and make sure that you understand your thesis on the things you're going to get long.
Yeah.
Now, guys like Jason, who trade a little different than me, Jason can give you a risk-on trade, but Jason, sometimes your risk-on trades, how long are they good for? Is it a day, an hour?
Literally, it could be like a couple of 5-minute candles, honestly. I mean, it could be in and out. Like, if level 2 in the volume, if you just have an entry where something just spikes and it just breaks out, like, you could buy and sell, like, within a 5-minute candle, like, that quickly.
And one of the differences between Jason and me is that I'll buy a position in a public company that I think is severely undervalued, and I'll try to work out an arrangement with them to figure out what that company is going to do to bring value to shareholders, like I've done with SSNT, which is Silver Sun, and like I've done with other positions when I did it with UUU, Universal Instruments. I like to look at the companies, and I still trade, but when I look at companies, I look to see, would I be willing to buy the entire company?
Right.
I'd love for Ferrari to be trading for a deep discount, so I could say I would buy the entire company. But unfortunately, the best companies in the world generally don't trade at discounts for that long. Jason, we're going to wrap it up here. Anything you want to have closing comments about any of your names? Anything to look forward to tomorrow? Any earnings or anything important you think on the horizon?
Well, we got like 5 minutes left. What I wanted to just talk, a couple of like companies that are down like 35% year over year. Royal Caribbean Cruises, going back to your thoughts on the economy opening back up. RCL, I have that one up, Brett, if you want to look at it. $74.20. I mean, is that something that you would take risk on for the cruise lines?
I'm not a fan right now of those.
Yeah.
I think that they took on a ton of debt to stay alive, and I'm not a fan of them. It doesn't mean they're not working.
Yeah. Other than that, I really didn't have a whole lot. There was some news regarding the stimulus, the COVID relief. Also, the Biden's proposing an amnesty bill to grant amnesty. That's being kicked around. Also, Biden has a gun control bill that's being kicked around. So that's a couple of things that maybe we can follow and touch on during this week. And really, that was about it. It was a pretty slow day today.
Things that are making moves, things like Delta Airlines.
Yeah.
It's retraced its losses. It broke out of a one-year high today. It's really made a move from the bottom. Some of these stocks look like they're starting to recover. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm looking at LOVE, Southwest Airlines. Yeah, they're pretty much back. Yep. So
are they back to flat?
Yeah, the year they're down 5% on the year, 1 year. Yeah, they're at $52.
Wow.
They sure are. We missed the value there.
Yeah, they've actually retraced a lot.
Yeah.
They held in a lot better than I thought they would.
We might have some value still in Delta and Spirit, though. Spirit, too. I'm looking at Spirit. I'm going to dig in a little bit of Spirit. That's
sure. Looks
like it's 27% down still. That's a different philosophy. You're more of a no frills, airline, which is fine. I mean, there's still value there. The consumer likes affordable airline prices, so there's value in the market for them.
I've been looking at Live Nation, but even they're ripping, and so it's kind of hard things to find hard things that haven't already made these moves in anticipation. I think maybe the market has a little bit made that move.
Yeah. I mean, one more thing that with the OCGN, I think that was a very smart exit, because the more we look into it, the more we realize that we have a pretty good allocation of, between Pfizer, J&J coming out, Moderna. Like, it looks like we have enough for vaccinations, and because OCGN only has the JV with the American revenue, that was a good exit, I think.
I just didn't feel the follow through. It didn't seem like the follow through was happening. Kind of, felt like it was. Sometimes stocks can suck you in for a while and then you get stuck.
Yeah, and you were sized up pretty good in that one. I'm glad to see you got out of that one.
And I tend to get out when I'm not feeling comfortable with something that I really kind of understand. And this thing had ripped, and then they sold some in the 7 range, and then ever since that, it's kind of stalled out a little bit. So for me, I was going to exit.
Well, in the last minute here, is there anything else you want to add? How's the weather over there?
I'm buying Palantir on a pullback. They're talking about $4 billion in revenue by 2025, and I'm buying that on a pullback. But that's a trade for me. I'm not looking at anything really amazing today. Maybe it'll be tomorrow. Maybe, Jason, you and I will find something. This is a little bit more of a somber risk on. I'm actually looking at private equity deals. You know how I work on that, and here in Connecticut, working on a private equity deal, which I'm very fascinated with. I know you are too. Yeah. So appreciate everyone's time today. Hey, it's Todd Ault. This is Jason Bartholomew. It is February 16th. Kind of a flat day for us, Jason. What do you think? A flat day?
Yeah, we need to ramp it up tomorrow. I'll I'll go back to the lab and see what I can drum up.
This is the first time we remote broadcast in our 11 broadcasts, so we appreciate you being patient with us. February 16th, this is Todd Ault. It's Risk On. We'll see you tomorrow.